Hope you're having a super fantastic sparkling day. Welcome to Portrait Letters podcast number 2558. Where were you? Where was your family when they earned their first paycheck? Yes, that very first paycheck that you got that showed that you were now independent. Earning a first paycheck is one of those milestones that marks the beginning of adulthood. I did babysitting. $20. I got $20 for about 4 hours, I think it was. Yeah. No, it might have been 5. I went over like about 6 or 7 in the evening. They got home around midnight. I walked back home next door. That was it. Done. Yeah, $20 for the 4 or 5 hours, the 5 or 6 hours I was there. It may not have been a large amount of money, but it represented something much bigger. It was proof of hard work, responsibility, and satisfaction of earning something through my own effort, your own efforts. For many people, it's a moment they remember for the rest of their lives. That first job could have been delivering newspapers. Did that as well. Covered it for 2 weeks while my friend was on vacation, and I happened to be home. It was school holidays, and it happened to be 2 weeks that we were home. And so learned her route and got up at had to be down there at 5 o'clock in the morning to pick up the newspapers. Had a box on the back of my bike that the newspapers had to be rolled up and put into. We were given a stack of newspapers tied with string, and we had to roll them all up and put them into the box that was on the back of our bikes. And then I had to bike up to the area, which happened to be the area where my parents lived, and the subdivision across the road from where we were. So it was all local. The problem was the hill getting up to the top. I got to cycle down it in the morning, but I had to cycle back up with a box full of papers on the back. But they were all rolled up, ready to go into the round holes that were on letterboxes at the time for the newspapers. We didn't throw them into the yards or anything. We stuck them into the newspaper slot on the letterboxes. So I remember doing that and taking leftover newspapers home. So Mum and Dad got to read the newspaper for a while. Working on a farm. It could have been working on a farm. Could have been serving in a shop, washing dishes, babysitting, lawn mowing. Working in an office, or helping in the family business. Every family has stories about first jobs, first bosses, first uniforms, and the lessons they learned along the way. Many people can still remember exactly what they did with their first paycheck. I have no recollection. Some proudly handed it to their parents to help with household expenses. Others rushed out to buy something that they'd been saving for, perhaps a bike. I did save up for a bike with my jobs. A record player and new clothes, or it could have been their first car. Some carefully tucked part of it into a savings account, while others celebrated with a special meal or treat. I think I gave it to my parents and it got put into my bank account. I think that's what happened with my first $20 that I earned with babysitting. With my newspaper stuff, it all got put into the bank. Looking back, it wasn't really about the money. It was about the independence. Absolutely. I had money that I was freedom to do what I wanted with. So I thought. It was the feeling of knowing you had earned something for yourself. It was the confidence that came from contributing, learning new skills, and taking the first steps towards building a future. Actually, thinking back, household chores would have been my first job, because I got paid an allowance, my pocket money. And one of my chores with the pocket money was to earn my pocket money was mowing the lawns. I hated mowing the lawns. Even though we had a lawnmower that should squeeze the barren or basically self-drive itself. If we had a 1/4 acre section with this big hill. Dad did the hill. I didn't have to do the hill, thank goodness. But I just hated doing it. I really did. It didn't take long to do it. It was just my mindset was, I really hate this job. Because before I could go mowing, we had a cat. Her name was Fluffy. Before we could go mowing, we had to go and inspect the lawn and make sure there was no birds, rabbits, mice, or any carcasses left in the grass. And then I got the long-handled shovel and had to go out and had to scoop up whatever carcass was there. Thankfully, I didn't have to do the rabbits. That Mum got to do those ones one time. Mainly it was birds. And scoop them up onto the end of the shovel and then go down the back of the section and throw them over the fence into the swamp area. I still, to this day, gag at the thought of having to do that, and I don't do well with critters. And in this house, not long after I moved into this house, there was a dead bird laying outside the door for the master bedroom on the front porch there. And I called up my parents and said, there's a dead bird on the front porch by the bedroom door. And they're like, well, go pick it up or something. And I said, I have a thing against dead critters. That started when somebody made me clean up Fluffy's mess back when I was a teenager. And so Dad came over. He happened to have a dog poop bag. Somebody told him to use dog poop bags or something. And so he went and he was my hero that day. He went and picked up the dead bird. And it wasn't a small dead bird either. It was like it was a big one. It was about this long laying down on the ground. I fit it inside a poop bag for a dog's poop bag. That's all I can remember. Yeah, so I don't do well with dead critters. So I had to do that. But these are so looking back, it wasn't really about the money. It was about independence. It was the feeling of knowing you had earned something for yourself. It was the confidence that came from contributing, learning new skills, and taking the first step towards building a future. Absolutely. I learned a lot of skills. And because there's times we're conversing with people and saying, oh, yeah, well, when I did that when I was a teenager, da-da-da-da-da-da. And they're sort of like, and somebody turned around the other day and we were talking about things and they go, have you ever had that experience? And I go, yeah, actually I have. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah. And so we'd talk about it and they go, and then they'd look at me after a while and go, and then they'd go on to the next topic and I'd had experience with that topic too. And they look at me and go, is there anything you haven't done? I went, yep, never jumped out of a perfectly good airplane with a piece of silk on my back. Have never jumped off a perfectly good bridge with a rubber band tied around my ankles. And just like, okay, all right, we got it. These are the everyday stories that deserve to be remembered. A first paycheck tells us about the values our families lived by the opportunities they had, the dreams they were beginning to build. The memories often reveal far more than a person's life than a number written on a old pay slip. So in the comments below, what were some of the first jobs that you had that you remember that you got paid for? Put them in the comments below. I would love to hear what they are. But your challenge today is ask a family member about their first paycheck they ever earned. What was their first job? How old were they? How much were they paid? What did they spend the money on? Excuse me. How did it make them feel? Record their story today because one small paycheck often marks the beginning of a lifetime of hard work, achievement, and family memories. And with that, we are out of here. Go out, have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and we'll see you guys back here tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific. Hei konera.